Hey everybody, and welcome back to the mainstream. It seems we've been doing this every other month now. It's just a pain in the butt just trying to find somebody to come. Plus, I've got a million other shows that I've been doing, so it's just been busy. But I'm your host, Jonathan Moody, and I'm here with my special guest,
Danny Terry.
Danny Terry. Danny. That's what what's his name said to Daniel Russo. Yeah, Terry Silver said.
Diasa.
No, I was talking about was it
Oh yeah.
Terry Silver was like Danny, you know. And I was like, oh, I've got a Danny coming on my show. That's funny. I am drinking out of my new LaRusso Auto, was it
Nice.
Auto Group
Cobra from Cobra
mug
Kai.
from Cobra Kai. I always wanted something from Karate Kid, so I wanted a mug, and I'm really excited. I'm a collector of mugs. I don't know if you collect mugs or not, but I'm definitely a collector of mugs, and so this is one of my prized possessions. And so I have that. I'm drinking coffee out of it because I've got a late night tonight. I gotta do so. I don't care how late it is for coffee. And I had a book that Sean Kanan from this movie had written. It was called The Way of the Cobra, I think. And it's sort of a self-help book using methods from like the Cobra Kai, you know, stuff. So I don't think he could say Cobra Kai in it because it's not a licensed thing. It's his own, but it's pretty cool. He sent that to me autographed, and I think it was autographed. And after I interviewed him and stuff, so he was a gracious guy. Very cool. And I absolutely love him in this movie playing Mike Barnes. He's just great. So let's start it off with talking about so you're a Karate Kid lover, right? When did you start watching the series?
I think I watched the original one growing up in the 90s because I was born in the late 80s in 87, so I would have been, let's see, actually not even alive when the original one was came out because I think it was before that, right?
It was 84.
84, yeah. So I went
You weren't even alive? God,
I
I didn't
wasn't
know
even
you were.
yeah,
I
I
thought you
wasn't
were
even
older than me or my age at least, but
no.
I guess you're younger. It's the beard, man. Beard throws it all off.
Yeah. So yeah, so I started watching the Karate Kid movies in the 90s, growing up as a kid and always really loved those movies, especially the first and the second one. Um I hadn't actually seen the third one in a long while, so I had to do a rewatch. So
Me too. I did it yesterday just because I wanted to. I knew today might be busy, so I was like, I'm gonna watch it tomorrow, and or yesterday. So I did, and it was just like going back into my old beta days where I watch it on Betamax and stuff all the time, and everything. It's wonderful. It's such a great movie. I it's going to be controversial. I don't know if I like this better than the second one. I'm like so confused because I just watched the second one and loved it more than I ever did before. And now I'm watching this again. I still absolutely love this movie. So I almost think that maybe two and three are tied. Number one is always like this number one, my favorite. Like that's like, you can't beat number one. But number two and number three, I think are tied in my favorites. I don't know. What about you?
ah man. I kind of have to say that part two was my favorite because I really liked, because that's where all of the culture comes from, for Mr. Miyagi, and also, where his style of karate comes from. It comes from his family, more specifically his father. So it was nice to see Mr. Miyagi, return back home. It was nice to see Daniel be able to see where Mr. Miyagi is from, Okinawa, which is off the coast of Japan.
Hmm.
So if you think about it, that's really the source of, like,
All karate, yeah.
all karate. That's the source of the style of karate that Daniel had learned. So it was nice to see them kind of have a return to that.
Which I think, I don't know, like Cobra Kai, they talked about like Korea or something. So I don't know if there was where exactly Cobra Kai originated. If you go on like if you go on Google and you search this stuff, there's answers to all of this. And I don't know where they find it or who gave them the answers or how it comes to be. Cobra Kai, I think, explained a lot too, gave a little backstory into the Cobra Kai dojo and how Terry and Martin Cove's character Kreese, became war buddy. I mean, they talk about a little bit here in this movie. They talk about them going to they've been in Vietnam together, but it was almost like a throwaway line, you know? Like it didn't feel like it was part of like this building this world, that later Cobra Kai was able to continue. But like he was mentioning, oh, you saved my ass back in Vietnam, I owe you, buddy, You get to see that later in Cobra Kai. But in this, it's pretty cool, you know, like, um, all that. So, um, and now Terry Silver's like the villain and oh, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Cobra Kai, which if you haven't seen Cobra Kai, I don't know why you're watching this thing in Karate Kid 3. I mean, I don't know. But yeah, Terry Silver's like the big villain again, which is nice, you know. I like him a lot. Like I don't know, Thomas Ian Griffith who did him was just amazing, you
Yeah.
know. Um so
Yeah,
let's
and
go.
actually there was a line in part three where he Terry Silver actually very briefly mentioned, Cobra Kai and South Korea. So I think he mentioned that this was actually, of course, when he was trying to deceive Mr. Miyagi and Daniel. But he did say, his master, their master is from, South Korea. So that kind of starts a little bit on like where Cobra Kai comes from. So
I think so, maybe. There's a actual, like, if you Google the stuff, like if you Google where did Cobra Kai Dojo, Cobra Kai Dojo originate. I bet you can find that information. So it's probably Korea would be my guess. I don't know. I don't. It's just giving me the location of where. Let's see. So Cobra Kai season 3 explains John Kreese's origin story as well as what inspired the creation of the Cobra Kai Dojo. Um, Kreese appears in the original. Okay, I don't. They always do this where they pack you with information you don't need to, like maybe you do, but it's just too much stuff. So I want to get to the nitty gritty. So a flashback reveals that Kreese learned martial arts while training for a special task force unit during the Vietnam War. Specifically, he learns the Korean style of Tang Soo Do from his commanding officer, Captain Turner, played by Terry Serpico. Which, by the way, that's an awesome last name. The guy that's in it is the Terry Serpico is actually an actor that was in like Law and Order and stuff like that, Special Victims Unit. He plays like the chief. So he is it's whenever I see his name, I'm like Serpico, and he's playing a cop. How awesome is that? Like just felt perfect for him. Who previously studied under Master Kim Sun Young during the Korean War. In the Karate Kid, Kreese teaches Tang Soo Do to his Cobra Kai students, which contrasts with the Miyagi-Do method taught by Mr. Miyagi. In addition, the fight sequences, I don't care about that. Also reveals that, and so, all right, so basically that was it. So I remember the name, Kim Sung Young, and I think they talk about him like he died, his character died. So at one point, so in the Cobra Kai thing, so but it's interesting. It's interesting to find more information about Cobra Kai, and in this movie it because the first movie was about Cobra Kai. The second was about all of Miyagi's backstory. And the third comes back to Cobra Kai, and everything. which I'm glad they did go to Okinawa. When I first watched that as a kid, I hated the Okinawa stuff. I just had no interest in the culture, no interest in Okinawa. Even though I took karate, I had no interest in, me personally, I didn't even have interest in going there and seeing this stuff. Like I wasn't into history, wasn't into that stuff. So I don't know. It was weird like that. But were you ever into karate? Did you ever do it?
I never did karate. I actually did more of a South Korean style of martial arts, Taekwondo.
Taekwondo,
I
yeah.
didn't get too far into it. I don't think I really made it past white belt because I don't know. I did take it as a kid, and I think as a kid I just lost interest. My brother continued to do it. I think I want to say he at least got up to red or something, and then stopped doing it. But I mean, I'd like to take it again. It was a nice form of. It was more of like a defensive style of martial arts, so not quite as aggressive as karate.
I've talked about this, I guess on a couple of them on the podcast anyway, but the first, so I did Shorin, which was known as Shorin Shorin Kan back in when I was a kid. That's an Okinawan karate, and everything. So, then I left after I got a senior and I got up to junior black belt. And I left when I got to senior because my dad said, "You're 18 now. Do you want to continue doing karate or do you want to quit and focus on school and everything like that?" Which I was failing at school, so I feel like a lot of that had to do with just doing karate 2 days a week, and stuff like that, and not having time to just sit. So I said I actually wanted to, and funny thing is I didn't even graduate until summer school. So after summer school, which was nice because we had a really small graduation, like 8 people graduated, and that was it. And so they could actually talk about each person individually. I thought that was kind of cool. Um, but aside from that, so I did I stopped doing karate, then I went back to it in 2000. Maybe it was had to be 2000 something. I think it was 2002. I think I was 20 or so. I went back and I started studying with another master, another sensei of mine, who was down in Yorktown and stuff. And I learned there, and then I was so out of shape, and I was drinking back then. So yeah, I must have been 20 or 21, and I was drinking back then. I just could not do it. I couldn't. I couldn't. They even let me go back and be a black belt again, right? Like and continue being a black belt. I didn't remember any of the katas, which we talk about katas in this movie. They talk about katas in this movie, and then anyway, so then later, years later, I was in my 30s, and I tried to do it again. Once again, I was still out of shape. This time, there was no Shorin-Ryu Shorin-Kan anymore. Shorin Khan has left. So it's just Shorin Ryu or Shorin Khan. And the stuff that my old sensei was teaching was Shorin Ryu. So I really recommend if you live in Williamsburg, Virginia, check out Shorin Ryu Karate with John Spence because he is one of my favorite senseis I've ever had. I felt terrible for leaving him, and I did come back for a little bit, and then I left again. Just can't handle it, man. And one of my buddies who's still in it laughed at me when he saw me like as a white belt again, because I just could not, I had to start all over again, and I just couldn't handle it. I was just too out of shape, and little kids were beating me up. It got that bad. Like, and I mean, I was just like, I can't do this. This is just no, I'm way too out of shape.
Yeah. To do any sort of martial arts, it really takes a lot of dedication, but also it takes, a lot of physical toll on you. And, when you get in, past your 30s or into your 40s, yeah, it's like, okay, I don't know if I have quite the energy to do that kind of martial arts. Um, I
Nope.
don't know. I had actually thought about taking up kendo, which is actually samurai style sword fighting. So because I'm a big Star Wars fan, and kendo is actually one of the forms that they use for lightsaber fights. So
Oh, nice.
that's what it's actually based on, samurai sword fighting. Um, and some fencing as well. But I don't know. Kendo, I think really piques my interest more. Um, but as far as
Very
like
cool.
beyond that, I don't know if I would actually do the full on, hand to hand combat fighting. So don't know if I quite have the energy for something
N-
like that anymore.
No, I mean, once again, we're a little up there in age now, and
Hmm.
it's getting to the point where, I mean, nobody told me when I was young that be happy that you have your metabolism
Oh
at a
yeah.
young age because when I literally turned 40, my gut started getting big and all this stuff started happening, and I was like, wait a minute, I've been eating, like this for for so long, what is going on here? And but even 30, I was out of shape. I was a little
Mhm.
bigger than I should have been and everything. So I, or especially when I was drinking, because I would just drink all the time, and stuff, and that just was not good. That was a bad, situation. But uh, you know, it was nice to go to these you know, uh it was nice to try it again, you know? But anywho, we're gonna go right back to let's talk about like the beginning of the movie and everything. So it starts out once again with the did this in the second one, which is like basically like what you missed last week on Karate Kid, or what you missed the last movie on Karate Kid. And they kind of actually it doesn't even show any of Okinawa stuff.
Yeah.
Shows all it, it was weird because it was like they did the same exact thing that they did in part two, just in
Mhm.
part three, and instead of showing new footage from part two. It was so weird.
Yeah, it was a basically it was a recap of the first movie, which at first it's a little jarring, but then it makes sense because if you think about part three is really a continuation of the storyline from part two. Because it goes back to John Kreese. Obviously it doesn't go back to Johnny, but it goes back to John Kreese and also back to Cobra Kai. So it kind of, refreshes your memory of it. So it was helpful to see those scenes before seeing the rest of the movie. Because
Yeah.
I have to admit, prior to rewatching part three, I did not rewatch the first two, so it was nice seeing that scene in the beginning. Because then I'm like, oh, okay, all right, I
All right.
remember
So
what
now you're
happened
all
now.
caught up. All
Yeah.
right. Yeah. So you're all caught up. I mean, they go back to my favorite scene in all of Karate Kid of you know, mercy is for the weak.
Hmm.
Honk. And everything, which completely
Yeah.
humiliates, Kreese, and he is now uh he's like the laughing stock of karate apparently, which I think this is a little bit weird. Like it's like really he's the his dojos, nobody's going to his dojos because they lost one tournament in their life. How many did they win? Like it's
Yeah, didn't they
ridiculous.
win like consistently at the
Yeah.
All Valley Championship prior to that? So, I mean, yeah, I that was one of the things I felt a little weird about part three. I'm like, I don't think Cobra Kai would go out of business that quickly. Um, you know, I can
And
maybe
he didn't even need to go out of business. He literally had to
right.
go talk to his friend,
Yeah.
say, we need some more money for this. And his friend would have said, yeah, I got you, Johnny. Here you go.
Yeah,
You know?
well, obviously it was Terry Silver who was the financial back. Oh,
Yeah.
spoiler alert. He was the financial backer for Cobra
Well, there's
Kai.
gonna be lots of spoiler alerts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
This
I mean,
whole
if you hadn't
podcast
seen
is a
part three
spoiler
at this
alert.
point, it's like, don't go further.
Right, exactly. Uh so yeah, don't listen to us now if you haven't seen if you've only seen up to part two. Um But or if you haven't seen the Cobra Kai stuff because we will be talking about that because that just goes hand in hand with this. interestingly enough. So, yeah, so basically, John Kreese is just down in the dumps. You see him kind of sad, and it becomes his story for a little bit, in the beginning, which once again, having had not seen it in a while, I was just like, this is just like you said, jarring, you know, because I don't remember so much of it being John Kreese in the beginning. I do remember, Daniel and Miyagi coming, but I don't remember it being so much him. So it was kind of cool to see that because you don't really get to see like the villains, story arc and character development and sort of like understanding where they're coming from. But still, he is a villain, you know. He's not a good, nice guy in this, you know. They don't actually try to turn him into a nicer guy until Cobra Kai, which they try to show off both sides of everybody, the good guys and the bad guys, in that thing, which I think is cool. Um, but yeah, so we go see Terry Silver. We get to meet Terry Silver, which we never knew anything about him. This was it's a new character, you know. And did you like Thomas Ian Griffith in this?
Yeah, I think he did really well, and it really kind of showed his range because as Terry Silver, obviously he's very vengeful, um, to get revenge for his friend for Kreese, and it was just he showed a lot of range because he had to pretend to be nice
Hmm.
to Daniel and to Mr. Miyagi. Um, he had to appear more sincere, but then do a complete 180 and like, oh, he's the villain. I honestly would have liked a little bit better if they didn't immediately introduce him as a villain. Kind of you start to gain his trust a little bit, because he's being nice to Daniel and to Mr. Miyagi. He's offering to train Daniel. I think it would have been a great reveal, a twist in the storyline that, oh, he's the like, oh, he's not a good guy after all. He's financially backing Cobra Kai and he's best friends with John Kreese and he's only helping them in revenge. I would have liked a little bit that better, instead of them, right off the bat telling you, oh, he's a bad guy. And
That's
from
an
then on,
interesting idea.
yeah,
Problem being, I like all the other scenes though. I like him
right.
meeting Barnes and setting the guys up like that.
Mhm.
Um, it would have been an interesting take had Mike and Snake and all of them been introduced as if they were friends and we didn't know that they were all backed and everything. So like a reveal like that too would have been cool. But then again, because then at this point, the audience knows way more than the main characters,
Right.
right? So the audience knows what's going on behind the scenes. They know this guy only wants the title so that they can get revenge on Daniel. Like they don't really care about the title. He doesn't give a fuck, you know? Like if Daniel didn't ever sign the application, he just would have walked away. Well, I mean, he would have probably continued harassing Daniel or whatever, to the point of like needing a restraining order on him or something, or whatever, which I guess he somehow could have gotten that, I mean, this guy's been harassing him constantly,
Yeah.
um, causing problems and everything. But anyway, yeah. So point is like it is cool to see all the see them all get together and get to meet each other and Snake is played by the director's son, who also I believe is named John Alvidson, or so, if I'm correct. But yeah, I always like that. I always like that he put his like people go, oh my God, it's nepotism. And I'm like, fucking nepotism is cool, man. Because, sometimes you get the best, like fucking Sage Stallone was an amazing actor, you know? Like if he wasn't the son of Sylvester Stallone, he still would have been an amazing actor, but like he may not have been introduced that quickly, you
Right.
know, and everything. So anyway, mm, um, what did you think of Dennis? I guess that's his name, though. Tall guy, the very silent one who basically didn't say much. Do you remember who I'm talking about? The
Yeah,
He was the other
honestly,
bad
it's like
guy.
I didn't really pay much attention to him because like he didn't really bring a lot to the scene. So
Oh, he had one scene that was beneficial to whatever. And that was the scene where he was like, hey, stop that stuff. And he was like, make me, or whatever. Like, you know, you stop it, kind of
mhm.
thing. Which he got into the fight, and then he got his ass kicked by Daniel, which was cool because Daniel, I mean, I don't know. But when Robin Lively's character, was her Jessica? Is that her name?
I think so, yeah.
Jessica got her stomach kicked. I was like, no, that is so not
Right,
cool,
yeah.
man. I think even as a kid, I was like, no, Daniel better kick this dude's ass, because like, like no, no, that's not cool at all. Um, what'd you think of Mike?
Mike yeah, Mike he actually had a bit more depth than than your typical bully because, it's not really like he's trying to take intentionally take revenge on Daniel.
He
He's
doesn't know Daniel.
he doesn't know him. He obviously he's in it for financial gain. So,
Right,
um, it is, but also it kind of makes you wonder. I'm like, why is he doing all this? But he's he has to win the tournament against Daniel in order to get Cobra Kai. It's like he's promised like 50% of the Cobra Kai
is that
dojos.
why
So
because him losing, is that why he later is working like he owns a was it a furniture company or something like that,
yeah, because he was supposed to be 50% owner in the Cobra Kai dojos because Silver was going to open up like several in the city of Los Angeles, and then Mike Barnes was going to get 50% of that, in return for beating Daniel and the competition. So it was nice to see him, different than your typical, bully that's, just beats up on the hero, just because for some reason that, they want to take revenge on them or they don't like them. Mike, obviously he's in it for the money.
right?
Um,
That's his angle.
yeah,
And he negotiates too. Like
right.
he doesn't just accept, okay, this guy's paying me this amount of money. He's like, well, to do my best, I got to get 50%,
Yeah, 'cause I
so
think what was Silver offered him, was it like 20% initially?
20% or 25, something like that.
And
And then
then
he says, oh,
he's
God.
like, I'm gonna need 50. And then Terry say like the highest I can go is 35. But then Terry was realizing like, if he can fight as good as he negotiates, then he can get his 50%. So yeah, so
I
it
think
was
he has a
nice.
line there where he says that, and the guy
Yeah.
says even harder. He
Yeah.
fights even harder.
Yeah,
Which
so he's a good negotiator, and it was nice to see a lot more depth, than your typical villain because most of them there's not really a lot of character development
well,
there.
I don't
But
know. Karate Kid always does because like
right.
Johnny was pretty. I mean, I don't know. Johnny in the first movie, he had a pretty good arc. You know, I mean, if you even look back at like how he was like this. I mean, they kind of show it in Cobra Kai about it, but Johnny is this guy who dated the girl, this girl, and then this other dude comes in, just moves into town, and already is like sweeping her off her feet, and she's liking him and everything. And this dude's like, who the fuck is this guy, right?
Mhm.
He's like, this is my ex-girlfriend, man. I'm trying to win her back. I'm trying to win her. And he does it all the wrong way,
Right.
right? He has bad temper. All this stuff. But even then, later, you kind of see him as this really nice guy in the scene where they're at the um was it that like the rich dance thing, scene in the first movie. I don't know how long ago you saw the first movie, but there's a scene where like all the rich people are dancing and everything, and he has a little dance with Allie, and they're talking, and he's being like this sweet guy, but he sort of makes Daniel mad when he goes in to kiss, Allie when he shouldn't be, right? Allie smacks him later, but Daniel doesn't see that, right? But like you get a little bit of that, like there's some depth to that.
Right.
Um, the guy in the second movie, maybe that's why I didn't like the second movie for a while. Chosen, he was sort of just an asshole. Like there was no real depth. Like he throughout the whole thing, he didn't change. They gave him depth in Cobra Kai. They gave
Right.
him more stuff, and he's now like a part of the series some more. So wonderful. But I think that's them giving him, giving him more stuff because he didn't do very well in the I don't think. I think he was just sort of this. I don't know. Maybe people disagree with me, but I think he's kind of I don't know, kind of a just a jerk the whole time. He doesn't really have
Yeah.
this arc at all of changing or anything.
No. Well, because in the second one, Chosen was you know, he wanted to get revenge for his uncle,
Lots of revenge
because
in these movies.
yeah, a lot of revenge. That seems to be the theme with Karate Kid
Revenge
and
and
Cobra Kai.
bullying. Yeah, revenge and bullying.
But yeah, it's interesting how Chosen constantly quotes, so you're, saying Miyagi is, he's a coward. He has no honor, but the way he fights, the way Chosen fights, and like, it's not honorable at
Hmm.
all. So, well, this guy is definitely a hypocrite here.
Yeah,
He's accusing others of not being honorable, and he himself is not being one. He
I
has
guess that's
absolute,
a little bit of depth to that.
yeah, that's a
You
little
know.
bit of depth, but he has absolutely no arc. He doesn't
I mean, Johnny
see,
has an arc,
yeah,
but it's like a very quick arc.
it's very quick.
You
Yeah,
know, I
well,
kind of never liked that, you know.
there was a there was a scene in the first one, during the All Valley Championship, the tournament, when Kreese told him to sweep the leg, and Johnny was like, he had this look on his face, is like, really, dude? I mean, that
I
seems like a cheap
I,
shot.
I always thought that him saying that was him saying, "No, I don't want to sweep the leg because I'll be disqualified."
Right.
Right? Like I don't want to lose that way.
Yeah.
And maybe that was, but it also, I guess, showed a little bit of redemption. But at the end, he's there going, "You're okay, LaRusso," and I'm like,
Hmm.
where did this come from? This always felt fake and ridiculous. I never liked that. I don't. I feel like that was the end of Rocky or something. You're
Hmm.
okay, Rocky Balboa, blah blah blah. No, bullshit. You were a asshole to him the whole time up until you fought him. And then part two of Rocky 2, Apollo's still an asshole to him. And I'm like, weren't you guys just buddy buddy at the end of the movie? Like, it's
Hmm.
ridiculous. These movies kind of do that kind of stuff. And,
Yeah.
you know, Rocky and Karate Kid are sort of back to back movies done by John G. Alvinson, so they have very, similar, themes, I guess, in it. But yeah, what were you saying? You were saying stuff about like, I guess, still with what's his with Johnny. So I mean, do you agree that he kind of flip-flopped pretty quickly?
It was very quick. Yeah. Because it didn't really show enough. I mean, obviously he kind of redeemed himself, but like, well, that was quick. There's no development there. So, but of course, Johnny gets more fleshed out in Cobra Kai. There's a lot more to him than just the typical karate bully that we know from the first movie. So there's a lot more reason why he is the way that he is. And it's
Right.
totally understandable for him to want to take revenge in the show because he's down on his luck and but again, also makes you think, I'm like, really? He didn't continue with karate after the tournament, just because he lost,
I don't think it was
you
because
know?
he lost. I mean, you saw at the end of or the beginning of part two, which they show
Mhm.
that the Kreese was going to kill him
Right.
for
Yeah.
losing for losing the tournament. I mean, like that always I don't know, that just seems so uh over the top,
Yeah.
like it's not a it's not that kind of thing. Like it should not be that big of a deal, But unfortunately, that's sort of how, the movies have sort of made it, you know?
Yeah. And also kind of makes you wonder, like, with the two main villains, like, you didn't like Daniel didn't beat you in the tournament. He beat a Johnny, It's like
It had nothing
at
to
first,
do
but
with
it's
you
like it
except
had
the
nothing.
bloody knuckles, the
Right.
bloody
Like,
knuckles. That was
why
it.
are you wanting to take revenge on a kid that you didn't even fight? It was your student who fought him. Why are you trying to really humiliate him, when he didn't do anything to you personally? So
Hmm.
it did seem kind of very strange on why, is this really kind of like a believable motivation, a believable enough motivation for Kreese and for Silver? So
Right. Yeah, I don't know. It seemed a little too over the top, but
yeah.
then again, that's sort of how part three is. The part three is way over the top. I
Hmm.
mean, there's the scene with I'm gonna make sure that that's her name, Jessica. I think that's her name, but I want to make sure. Karate Kid 3. Um, and we'll get into this. Jessica Andrews, yes. So Jessica Andrews and him are going mountain climbing, to get the bonsai tree, right?
Yeah.
So they're there trying to get the bonsai tree. Have you ever seen, you haven't seen him ever mountain climb. You never seen this tree, this bonsai tree that they have the picture of and everything. You've never seen any of that really until this movie. Um, and so it's really cool to sort of see that, but it's over the top. Like all of that is very over the top. And that's still cool. It's just different, you know?
Right.
Like part two was a little over the top at times, especially toward the end with the typhoon and then
Hmm.
him, getting attacked at the final battle or whatever, and stuff. That was very over the top. Um, plus, like, dude, this has been a feud that's been going on for years there in Okinawa or whatever, and all they gotta do is just whatever, just bury it, and everything. And one guy's just too stubborn. Um, unfortunately, that actor passed, so they talked about how he's passed or whatever in Cobra Kai. Kind of mentioned that, but um, also, man, it's sad because by the time Cobra Kai came around, Pat Morita had already passed, and so man, I'm wondering if he's looking down and being
Hmm.
happy with the legacy that Cobra Kai is doing with his name. Miyagi Do. You know,
I
yeah,
think that that's part of why they decided to have chosen on Cobra Kai, because have more than just Daniel, because obviously they can't have Mr. Miyagi, so they need to have some sort of connection. Since Chosen had actually learned the same exact style of karate that Daniel learned, because um, Mr. Miyagi's original teacher, his dad, had also taught Soto, I think is
Soto. Yeah,
yeah, and Soto had in turn taught uh,
taught
his
Chosen. Yeah,
nephew Chosen. So they had learned the exact same style of karate. So it's not. nice to see Chosen return. And of course in Cobra Kai, Chosen actually has a, he does a little Miyagi reference, where he kind of acts like he's going to kill a guy and then he ends up honking his nose. So,
Yeah. He got that from Daniel because
yeah.
Daniel did that to him at the end of
Yeah.
the the second movie because he learned that from Mr. Miyagi. So
Mhm.
I always kind of like that 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 became a thing. In this movie it's Terry Silver. Like my favorite scene in the whole movie is Terry Silver making fun of Miyagi going, "Whoa, whoa," and then Mr. Miyagi goes, "Whoa,
He
whoa,
comes back and
whoa."
makes fun of
Yeah.
him.
Yeah. And it was just it was so funny, but I hate, and I still to this day hate that one line, "We won't, but you will," with from Daniel's such a whiner in this movie. Like it just drives me nuts. I hate how much he whines in this movie. I
Well,
think
he's pretty much a whiner the whole trilogy. So, you know,
he's worse in this movie, I feel like. I don't know. I don't know.
well,
Or maybe he wasn't happy to do it to begin with. I don't know.
because I mean, Daniel kind of completely turned away from everything he'd ever learned from Mr. Miyagi, just because he wants to win the tournament, so he's even learning from Cobra Kai, which is, if you think about it, it's like learning from the enemy. So,
Learning from the devil, that's praying to the devil itself. Yeah, no, I completely agree that it's with Cobra Kai, at least with the dojo, and then bringing that back, that was pretty cool. You know.
yeah.
I like that. I always like the fact that we got to see the dojo a little bit,
Mhm.
and so we got back to the original place. At least it looked like the original place, um, which they bring back in Cobra Kai, the TV show. They bring back that place. I have never been there, and it's in freaking California, and I want to go at some point next time I go back to California because I've been to which we can talk about because I've been to the apartment complex that Daniel was at, the South Seas one. And in this movie, it's like they're doing renovations or they're like new ownership or something like that. And um, basically, Miyagi's out of a job, and stuff. So, of course, that sets up, you know, uh, it's the same thing from part two. They just pick the idea from part two because remember he wanted to do uh he he wanted to do something for the summer or whatever with his mom, I
Mhm.
guess, at the in part two. And then he wanted to go to college. So
Yeah.
he's gonna go to college in part two or whatever, college money. Then he uses it to go to, Okinawa. But in this, he goes and uses the college money again. I'm like, Mr. Miyagi should have yelled at him like, we've done this before. This happened,
Yeah.
the last time you spent that money on this,
Uh-huh.
on the this time you go to college, right? And instead he goes and buys a place for, because Miyagi at the end of wins a bet, in part two and gives uh gives Daniel half of the money for his
Yeah.
college tuition, which he had lost to come, travel with his buddy. And it was good that he came. I don't know what would have happened had Miyagi shown up and Daniel wasn't there, you know? Like I don't know if Miyagi would have just left, you know, and not fought Sato and all that stuff, because he didn't want to anyway. He kept trying to, you know, whatever,
Yeah,
right?
because I think was it Daniel kind of talked him into going,
Yeah.
and Miyagi was very hesitant to go. Um,
Well, no, he wasn't very hesitant. He wanted to go because he
yeah,
was going to go see his dad. His dad was dying. So he
yeah,
was going to go see his dad and everything. And that was the only reason. But he didn't want to take Daniel with him because Daniel was supposed to be with his mother, and stuff that summer and
right.
everything. And then go to college. So he went to that and instead of going to college once again. He goes in this movie, he's now owning a freaking bonsai shop, which he was saying he was gonna work for free. Like what? What? Like what? That? Huh? Like why? You know? Like I he should have been like I'll be your yeah I'll be your employee here. You know? Blah blah blah. You know? Because I mean you know. But he says he wants him to be partner on the in the business or whatever.
Hmm.
Which it's funny that what he's now an auto car dealer and not a bonsai. But he does have like everybody gets a bonsai
Hmm.
at the auto
Yeah.
shop. You know, anybody who buys a car gets a bonsai. I think that's kind of cute. Um, so yeah, so we got that stuff going on. We meet Jessica Andrews. By the way, did you know that Jessica Andrews, and I've talked about this, I think, on at least one of the other one of the other podcasts. And you know Jessica Andrews, the reason why they don't make it a real relationship and she has like a boyfriend and all of that was Ralph Macchio. He had was just got married, I guess, or whatever, and didn't want felt like, you know, if he had a romantic relationship with somebody there, he would be cheating on his wife or whatever. So
Hmm.
he asked if he could just make it a platonic relationship, which makes it a little interesting, I guess, you know, because at first it sets up like, oh, it's a date, it's whatever, and then no, she talks about that guy that she was
Yeah.
dating and
It
stuff.
was it was nice to see that dynamic because basically in the first two movies, he ends up, finding a love interest. There was a Japanese actress that played his love interest in the second movie, and then in the third movie, very briefly, his mom mentions um the girl he had met in Okinawa, and she had
Kamiko.
Miko, yeah, she had decided to she got a dance opportunity in Tokyo, so she took it. So
Yep. Which they were talking about like how she was into dance and stuff.
mhm,
So it wasn't
yeah,
it is just a way it's almost like you ever see those sitcoms like Zach on Saved by the Bell never
right.
has like a steady girlfriend really. He always tries to keep, you know, I mean he has one Kelly at the end, but like after a while Kelly and him break up and then he's like after whoever the girl of the week is, you know,
Yeah,
or
so it was nice to see that dynamic because it was very typical of 80s and 90s movies, to have the movies like that where they end up being the love interest. So it was nice to have them be platonic friends. So it was a lot different than it usually is with like the hero, hero always gets the girl. Well, in this movie, he's not necessarily getting the girl, not in a romantic sense, because he's just being friends with her. And it's implied that from the get-go. So he never actually tries to win her. So it was nice to see that change.
I also read that Robin Lively was actually only 16 when she did that part. So that was a
Hmm.
little weird to read because I was like, really? Um, I'm a huge Robin Lively fan. I was telling Danny before the show, I think, that I met Jason Lively, or her brother, and I at a convention. We would hang out at the convention, chat and everything. And I mentioned that I was a big fan of his sisters, and he was like, "Oh, thank you, blah blah blah." Right? Then I later think about, oh man, he probably thought I meant Blake because, you know, Blake Lively is like the bigger name right now, I guess.
Right.
She's married to Ryan Reynolds. She's been in some big movies and TV shows and whatever. And then I was like, no, I meant Robin, you know. But yeah, I adore her in this movie. Adored her in Teen Witch. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie or not, but that's a classic 80s this silly movie, where she plays a teen witch. I mean, pretty much says it all. Um, but I absolutely love that. And then so I had a crush on her like mad when I was young, especially in this movie. I had a crush on all three of the girls because all three of them were just knockout beautiful, like Allie with an eye and Kamiko um and uh and now, you know, obviously Jessica, you know, but I never thought about it. Like I didn't know that like there was some kind of reasoning for them not to do that. But we forgot to mention also Terry Silver ends up training him
Hmm.
because Miyagi won't, and he's signed his death warrant, you know, to go fight, and he doesn't have anybody. I don't know why Miyagi won't train him. Like
Yeah.
that was another thing. I was like, rewatching it, going, what? Like this just seems like this is something you put in a movie, but like it doesn't make any sense. Because like Miyagi wouldn't be that stubborn.
No, yeah, and also there was a scene like where Miyagi was even kind of like having his own internal monologue where he's saying, he feels empty without Daniel. I'm like, okay, why don't you help him out? He
Yeah.
needs your help in this, and it's not like he wants to fight in the competition. It's like he has to because doesn't really have a choice. They're not giving him a choice. I'm like, why,
And
Miyagi? Why are you not training him?
I
You
mean,
know?
other than at the end where at the end where he goes, I'm gonna go tell Terry I can't do this anymore and
Hmm.
everything. And then Miyagi is like, would you want me to come with? He was like, no, no, I can hear this on me. What? Bring Miyagi. He's trying to come to you as a friend, trying to be
Hmm.
back in your life. What are you
Right.
doing, you idiot? But they did that so that you would get all the reveal of Kreese and you would get into a fight. You would have that scene where he says, I've been telling you all these things. Like it's all movie stuff, right?
Hmm.
So it's all, you know, it's all just movie setup. And I feel like, man, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe part two is better than part three. Like, in my opinion, because like the more that I think about part three and the more I like dive into it in my head, I'm like, this was, this had some great scenes, but wasn't a great movie. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Like, and I think that was the problem. They had these great scenes, and they were like, how do we put these great scenes together? Oh, we have to make these stupid things, happen, or whatever. Like we have to make it so, you know, um, the whole plan that Terry has set up, right? I'm gonna separate them two. They're gonna hate me. She's gonna thank me for all the pain that he's going through, all of that stuff would be, would happen, right? So all of it ends up happening exactly the way Terry and Chris planned it. And that in real life, that doesn't happen, you
No.
know. And I think that's why I like Cobra Kai because nothing ever seems planned out. Like it feels real. It feels like everybody, when they fight each other, is because they're in that middle of those scenes. You know what I mean? Like it
Right.
doesn't feel like somebody's going, all right, like even the villains, Kreese or Silver in Cobra Kai, they don't ever have a plan. They
Right.
just bring things and then problems happen. And I think maybe that was the problem is the writer of the first three movies, Robert Mark Kamen, maybe he was just really good at part one, like in two, maybe, but like maybe he was burned out by three. Like, why am I writing this?
Yeah, because in three, it like especially for the motivation for the main villain, okay, yeah, he was an old, army buddy. He saved your life multiple times in Vietnam, but really, I'm like, him being, this really, really wealthy guy, but obviously he's done some really shady stuff. So, of course, you're not going to put it past him to not continue doing shady stuff. But
Mm,
also, it just kind of makes me wonder. I'm like, again, like, why are you doing this? Like, okay, yeah, he saved your life in Vietnam, but that was like, several years ago, um,
yeah, a lot of years ago
and you're
by that
wanting to
time.
take revenge on someone who did not personally have take revenge on a kid, and when your friend was not personally, you know, he didn't lose the tournament. It
Mhm.
was a student who lost the tournament, so
Right. No, it was yeah, it was somebody
I
else, you
I
know.
honestly could maybe more understand Miyagi being their main source for taking their vengeance because like
Right.
Kreese, he felt completely humiliated and belittled, and of course, he felt originally he was powerful and everything. He thought he was God's gift to karate. So when this old man beats him, in a fight, and humiliates him, it makes more sense for Miyagi to be who they're trying to go after.
Well, they
And then
do go
Daniel
after him
gets caught.
too.
Well, I'm saying like have him being the main person that they go after, and then Daniel gets caught in the crossfire
Right. But
because
then
he
I think
doesn't
maybe
want.
that feels like part two because that was the thing with part two is the guys were
Right.
going after
Yeah, I
Miyagi.
guess maybe that's why they didn't want to do that because then it's like a rehash of part two. So
Maybe. That's the only thing I can think of is like they wanted to bring back Cobra Kai, but they didn't want it to make it all about Miyagi. They wanted to
right.
bring it back and make it about Daniel, which part one was Daniel because Daniel had the chosen stuff or whatever.
I
So,
think
and what?
Well, I was going to, sorry, I didn't mean to cut
No,
you off there, but I was going to say, like, I think it would have made a bit more sense for the main villain to be Johnny. I get he wants revenge because, he lost the tournament. He felt completely humiliated. He almost tried to get killed, like, Kreese tried to kill him. So I can understand Johnny, being the
but
main villain.
But
So,
the problem being, they have that ending where he's like, Johnny, or Danny, or Dan, you're a great dude, LaRusso,
yeah,
kind of thing. And that ruined, I think, any chances
right.
of him looking like he needs revenge, or whatever on him. Um, that's why, once again, go back to Cobra Kai. That's why I like Cobra Kai because there's that
Hmm.
when he walks into Daniel's auto place and everything, he realizes, oh shit, this is Daniel's. I don't want to see Daniel, right?
Hmm.
Because he is humiliated, but he's not. He doesn't want revenge. He doesn't want.
Yeah.
He just wants to be left alone. He doesn't want to see his face anywhere. He's sick of it.
Well, plus
Um,
also, he's thinking as an adult, I can't just, like I was in a teenager and go beat up people anymore. I'm an adult. I can get arrested if I try to fight somebody. So,
right. Yeah, exactly. And then and he wasn't in Cobra Kai anymore, and
right.
he did look very out of shape at that particular
Hmm.
time. He wasn't doing anything to keep himself in shape. He was drinking a lot. He was, I forgot what job he was doing. He was doing stuff for like house repairs or whatever, at the time. He put like a TV on the wrong wall, or whatever. I remember that. I thought that was so funny that like the chick was like, "No, I told you on that wall," and he was like, "Oh crap, I have to do it all over," right?
Yeah,
And he's such a terrible like, he had he was only good at karate. Like that
that
was
was
what he
his
was
thing.
that was his thing. That was what he was good at. And that's why he brought it back. He brought Cobra Kai back. That's why for the longest time I was like Cobra Kai. Uh-oh, are they really going and making this all about the villains?
Hmm.
And then it becomes more like that villains and like every villain thinks that they're a good guy, you know.
Hmm.
And every good guy doesn't know that they have a villain in them. That's why Daniel can act like a douchebag to him and then there's that whole everybody always brings up that thing of like Daniel was wrong in this situation. Daniel was the villain of the original Karate Kid, which
Yeah.
I don't agree with. I think Daniel was just the new kid who
Hmm.
came in. He saw a hot girl. He started chatting with her. Didn't realize she had an ex-boyfriend. She wasn't even interested in getting back with him at all. It would be different if like, they were still dating and he's kind of stole her away. But like she had no interest in him, in Johnny. So like Johnny started attacking him and everything and people try to use that. Well, he attacked him at the Halloween dance, and I'm like, yeah, you sometimes you attack the person before they're going to attack you. It's sort of like a defense mechanism, right? Because if he didn't do that originally to Johnny, he would have been attacked inside the at the party. If Johnny had seen him at the party, he would have they would have gotten into a fight there, at the Halloween dance. So like he was just doing, he was just trying to protect himself before anything. And then he got,
Hmm.
Zach. Well, then Miyagi kicked those guys' ass. That
Yeah.
was great. That was a great scene. But, and Miyagi always comes in and kicks everybody's ass. And I love it. Absolutely love it. Because he's like,
Every,
He's Yoda,
mhm.
you know.
He
Um,
he did that in every just about every Karate Kid movie, and also in part four as well. Well,
yeah, I haven't seen part
some
four in a while,
kicked some
but
butt
yeah,
in that one too.
I'm sure he does. In part two, I don't know if he fought in part two much, did he? I don't think so. I think because most of the time he was staying away from fighting.
I think
You
there
know,
was one scene where he basically um takes down Chosen, because I think Chosen is trying to beat up Daniel, and then he shows up, then Miyagi shows up.
yes, you're right.
Yeah,
Yep, yep, yep. There's that scene.
it's Chosen and his friends that are
Yeah, they're doing some
yeah.
like bad stuff, and Danny recognized it,
Hmm.
and Miyagi comes and helps save him and everything, and then
Hmm.
Chosen's like, one day you're that guy's name. He's not gonna be here to save your ass,
Hmm.
and stuff like that. What was the So one of the lines I loved in the movie, I even quoted it on Facebook, is Mr. Miyagi has all the plants all the bonsai trees are stolen
Hmm.
by the douchebag bullies who don't want them who want them to sign the application, so they leave the application up there, but steal the stuff. So he goes up and he goes, why aren't you bothered? It's like, sometimes better being bothered on full stomach than empty one. So he's
Hmm.
gonna go fishing
Yeah.
and get fish and everything so he can make food, or whatever, instead of which I don't know if you know this about me, but I hate seafood. I don't ever eat seafood. I'm like, if I can avoid it, I will. And it's not because I'm a fish lover and I just don't like the taste. So like, I would rather other people eat it or whatever if they want, and not me. Um, but whenever I hear about fish, I don't go fishing. 'Cause, I mean, I feel like if I did go fishing, I'd have to eat the fish that I caught, you know, and I don't eat fish.
You
So
could
why
always
would
give it
I?
away.
I could, but I just don't want to. Like, it just seems mean.
Hmm.
It seems mean to get a fish, hook it up, and then just go, never mind. You go back in the water. Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, you poor little thing. You just been swimming around, and all of a sudden something just, you're like, oh, this looks good. And then you're thrown back into the water. Like,
No, I wasn't talking about throwing them back in the water. I'm saying like you can, give it to someone,
oh,
like
right,
they're
right.
fishing.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, if they're fishing, yeah, I could give it to somebody, but I don't want to,
Give it to another fisherman.
I
Yeah.
could, but
Or like you see a kid there, they're not having a good luck with it, and you can give them the fish. So,
I'd
hey, here,
rather just
take this
not.
home.
Somebody else can go fish. They can go do that. I'm not a fisherman. But Miyagi is, because that was the big thing. Is like, my father was a fisherman. And so
Yeah.
his father
Well,
was a fisherman.
he lived in a fishing village in Japan. Well, in Okinawa, off the coast of Japan. So,
Yep.
you know, that's what he knows.
And it's interesting because karate is like, it did originate in Okinawa, but Okinawa fishermen did go to Japan. They're China. They went to
China.
China
Yeah.
and learned
That's where
karate
they learned
there.
karate.
Yeah, and then they brought it back to Okinawa. So what we get from Okinawa, I would love to do some more research into my former, style. I mean, they did tell me things back in the day. I can't remember how. I mean, I barely even remember the names to the katas that I used to do.
Mhm.
Once again, they did katas in this movie. Um, which was a big thing because they had never talked about kata before. And then Terry Silver saying, "You can't win on kata," right? Well, you can, because he's confuses the fuck out of Mike. When he does starts doing the
Yeah.
kata, Mike's like, "What?"
Honestly, I would have liked to see him use the kata more during the tournament because it just like, dude, you trained with Mr. Miyagi. Why are you not using the moves that you trained with?
And yeah, well,
It
at the
just didn't
end
make
he
any
did.
sense to me on that part, you know?
That was the thing. Like it's supposed to be the end. You see it just like you saw the end. You saw the crane kick, right?
Yeah.
So it was supposed to be the thing that helped save him. I once again that was well, I didn't once again that was the worst uh was a tournament
Oh
I've
yeah.
ever seen.
Yeah.
It was so short. And this it ah
I
it
think he
was
won too quickly. You know, it's like all of a sudden after the whole kata move and then just like one strike and he wins. I'm like,
I know. And
that's not
and
realistic.
and apparently they were telling him once again, these are plans that
Right.
he said, so, get a point, then lose the point, right? And keep doing that. Like keep
Well,
letting
yeah,
him get a point and then lose the point.
they wanted him to keep doing illegal moves so that way it's pushed into sudden death
Right,
and then he like unleashes hell on him. So,
right.
and then beats the crap out of him. So, um,
Yeah, and I love that scene where he's yelling at him like, "Get up, LaRusso!
yeah.
You're a loser. You're never gonna win." Blah
Yeah,
blah blah blah.
what's interesting though is he's not doing this to just not only belittle him, is he's actually trying to get Daniel to stand up. So because he knows by by insulting him, insulting Mr. Miyagi, that gives him motivation to want to fight him. So
Right.
so it's I mean even though the character of Mike is a dick, but he's still giving Daniel a chance to get up on his feet and defend himself. So
Well, once again, he
yeah,
wanted to win the match
he
because if
wanted
he
to
won
win it
the
legitimately and
he wanted
not
to win it legitimately
right.
because even though Terry Silver is teaching, was it Daniel the wrong stuff, like,
Yeah.
the stuff like if a man can't see, he can't fight. If a man can't breathe, he can't fight. If a man can't walk or stand, he can't fight. All that stuff, which I loved all that. Like because it is such an evil thing to teach somebody. And why didn't he go, this makes no sense. Why would I? Because he even says to him, he looks at him and he looks at Terry Silver and he says, the he says the line about what is it? Ah, he's like, "Oh, I can't use that. That's an illegal move. I'll be disqualified." Well, you'll
Right.
he can't where you win, right? And I'm like, "No, he doesn't win. He gets
No.
disqualified and nobody wins in that match." And like he only did that. He set them all up to do that so that he would be like he would react, right?
Right.
When he fought that guy, which I think if you watched it, was that the guy from Real Genius? Do you know? Could you remember like the guy that came up and he was like drunk at the club or whatever, and then he like hit on some girl, and then the girl's kind of whatever, and so Terry grabs him and says, "Hey, your money, here's I'll pay you to go if you go over here and do this stuff to this guy and start harassing the girl, right? So he does
Hmm.
that guy, and I think that was the guy from Real Genius, Mitch from Real Genius, like the main character who's like the young one that Val Kilmer has to
Right.
teach
Okay.
and everything. So, but yeah, that's really crazy that because it hadn't been that long since Real Genius, and he was the star of that movie in a way.
Hmm.
Then later he's playing like, 20th Banana to like Ralph
Yeah,
Macchio.
he's playing a bit part and also it's kind of a twist. He's playing a villain.
He's playing a villain.
So
I don't know. I don't know much. I just saw him in that, and I just saw that he was in it, and I looked at his IMDb, and he's been doing a lot of stuff. Like he is working like a madman. So uh which is great because I didn't his name's Gabriel Chouette, I think, or something. Great guy. And so he's in that movie as kind of like the villain in a way. But then he gets his nose punched, and then, the was it uh Terry Silver grabs him and they leave, right?
Yeah, he
And the
never
guy's
even
like,
got paid in the
yeah,
first.
he's like, "Where's the guy with my money?" Right? I was laughing my butt off going, because I thought he already paid him, the money, but I guess that's a fucking slimy ass thing to do. Is like, now you're and then Ralph Macchio, Daniels being so sorry about doing that. He apologizes to Jessica, and then on top of that, he tells Miyagi, and he calls the hospital up to tell them that he's sorry he broke this guy's nose and he doesn't know who the guy is, all that stuff. And then he has the talk with Miyagi, and then and then he sets up for him to go. How
Yeah,
did he know Terry Silver was gonna be at the dojo that late at night? Like, now that I'm like thinking about it, like
yeah,
how like what if he showed up there and Silver wasn't there, you know? Right? Like, and how did Silver know he was going to show up so that Priest can be hiding behind that one spot? Like, all of this, once again, great scenes, fantastic scenes. I remember loving them as a kid, going, these are the scenes I watched over and over again, but they're awful. They are
hmm
bad. And it's just badly written.
yeah. It's
No.
like how did they know that he was going to come back at that specific time? It just because it's not like it was implied that Terry had, spies working for him. I mean, he certainly has the money to be able to pay somebody to be following Daniel. So why didn't they show someone following Daniel to let him know, say, hey, he's over here. Hey, it looks like he's on his way to your
It could be
studio.
on like a walkie-talkie. Well, no, I guess that's just too much, but
Yeah.
there is that one great scene where um uh he he's setting up and he goes, "No, no, no, I don't like those clothes. They make me look too rich. Find me, whatever, right?" I was like, "Let me
It,
see these cars."
he's trying to look more humble.
He's trying to look like he's not rich,
Hmm
and stuff like a normal guy or whatever, not this, rich, asshole like he is, and everything. But what does he do? Like, I think they explain it in Cobra Kai, maybe. Like,
Yeah, it never really that they never really fleshed that part out and what he did. You just know that he's this really, really like crazy rich guy and obviously doesn't give a crap, because like
but
he's sitting in a bathtub and he's talking to one of his assistants and then he has Mike Barnes come in there while he's still in the bathtub. I'm like, okay,
yeah, I guess he's having a bubble bath or
yeah,
something. I don't know. Or maybe he's not. I mean, because I mean, the lady there, the older lady, his assistant, who's and she's like, "What do you do about this?" And he's like, "Bribable." And she's like, "Mr. Silver." And he's like, "Oh, be quiet. Well, who's the DA? Let's just bring him over to have whatever he loves to eat,
hmm
and stuff like that." And I'm like, and then she's like, "Very well." And I'm like, "Really? Like this? Even this lady is all like okay with the slime ball, stuff." Like, I mean,
Well, I mean, it was kind of implied that he was a slime ball from the get-go because, like, they were saying that he was potentially going to be indicted and, he was going to pay off all the jury. So, it's
bribe the
already
jury.
bribe the
Yeah,
jury. It's already saying that,
Whew.
he's a sleazy guy with a lot of money.
Sleazy
So,
guy with a lot of money, and and then he has to pretend like he doesn't have the money
hmm
and everything, um, and so like this guy keeps showing up, right?
hmm
Like whenever Daniel's getting attacked, by like Mike at his own dojo. Oh, all of a sudden this guy's bringing over a book. Oh, I just saved your butt from this, this guy, like randomly, or whatever. Like it just like what are you, his mother? I remember that line. I always like that line of you
Yeah.
know, um, that's what like Mike says. What are you, his mother? And then he was like, maybe, like it's just ridiculous. By the way, we got to see Uncle Louie in this movie, so that was cool.
Hmm.
You know, we got to see, unfortunately, him dying, or whatever, but we got to see him because he's talked about in the first two movies, I think. Both the movies he's talked about. His mother, once again, is only in it. I think in the second one, she's not even in it at all. I think is she in it? I know she's
I can't
moving,
remember.
and she's like leaving to go to wherever, and so that's why. I don't think she's actually in it. I think she shows back up in part three. So
Hmm.
she shows back up in part three, but she's with Uncle Louie. And I'm like, this is so weird. Like they're doing this sort of thing again where the mother, they're like, oh, fuck the mother. The mother has nothing to do with when the mother was a big part of the first one. And I think that was what gave a lot of its charm and stuff, was the mom really caring and loving her son and everything. But but in Cobra Kai she comes back and she's in it a bunch of times, a bunch of episodes.
Well,
Sadly she's not getting along with the wife or something, most of the time, but
I
that's
think they did that more because they wanted Miyagi to be more of that father figure that Daniel needs,
right.
So in order to have more scenes with Miyagi, you know,
You need to get rid of the
that
mom.
well, not get rid of the mom, but just, kind of not feature her quite as much.
Well, I mean, they barely featured her in this. She
Yeah.
was in the one scene that was literally it. Is the one scene where she was talking about, oh, Uncle Louis says hello.
Hmm.
Right? And I'm like, ah, that's Uncle Louie. Okay. And then in the Cobra Kai series, there's like Louis Jr. or something, Louis, another Louis, or what cousin Louis, so obviously named after Uncle Louis, which I thought was kind of a cool little thing, that they threw in there. But I like was a it was a Karate Kid universe movie, you know, like period. Like this was a sequel. It's just once again, I think the script just had like they had beats that they wanted to get to. They had certain scenes that they were like, okay, this would be cool, this would be cool, this would be cool. And then it's kind of like how they do Marvel movies these days, it feels like.
Hmm.
They say, oh, we're gonna have this cool scene and this cool scene, and then we're just gonna put them all into a movie, and who cares if it makes any sense, because people are gonna remember a scene with Thor and, Natalie Portman fighting each other, but nobody's gonna go, why is this happening? Which people will later, like once they start thinking about it, they'll be like, why does this happen? What? This makes no sense, you know? So I
Well,
don't,
it was nice to kind of see some cohesion. It's the same director, same writer. They also had the same composer as well, very similar style music as the first two movies. They also had, your more dramatic training sessions that Miyagi did with Daniel. So, using a lot of sweeping landscape shots. So it really
it
feels,
was beautiful,
yeah.
it looked great. I love that. Like I love the scenes where they're like doing the katas and you can see sort of the water behind them and all this other stuff. And then going on like a mountain type thing, situation. And I'm like, nobody does that. Come on. Like nobody goes like, we're gonna train, but we're gonna train on the mountain, you know?
Hmm.
Like we're gonna train at the fucking dojo,
Yeah.
and where you are right now, like we're
Yeah.
gonna
Like
train there.
why didn't they, I mean, especially like, a background I'm using here, that's Miyagi-Do. Why didn't they
Yeah.
train there?
Well, because they wanted it to look cool. Once
Yeah.
again, that's the problem with this movie is cool
Over
scenes,
the top.
over the top, but cool scenes makes no sense. when you really look at it and everything, you actually think about it. So I don't know. I think I'm gonna agree with a lot of people. A lot of people are like, because I used to say this was my favorite, and I think as a kid this would be my favorite, like sequel. Um, Once again, Karate Kid 1 always my favorite movie of all time. Like, it's up there as like one of my favorite films of all time, you know. Um, but yeah, man, it's so strange to like think that this movie was like that. Um, you know? Like what is why did some of these things happen? Well, because they were cool scenes.
Hmm.
Um,
It
you
looks
know,
cool.
yeah. And you see, was it you see Jessica doing the pottery in the beginning,
Hmm.
and she's doing the whole like this thing, and I was like, are we redoing Ghost? Is that, right? Is he gonna go and put his hands behind her and go up and everything?
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just sort of
Cue
funny.
Unchained Melody.
Yeah, exactly. Great movie.
Yeah.
Haven't seen that in years. The bad guy in that movie is now the uh some was part of Law and Order, the regular Law and Order show.
Hmm.
And he just directed a movie that's coming out soon. So awesome. But
Tony Goldwyn.
yeah, I think it was his name, right?
He's
Um
he's had some other like he thankfully he actually has not been typecasted as villains because he's played some good roles too.
yeah, he was so he was he's the new DA
Mm-hmm.
for Law and Order. When I when he was talked about he was going to replace Jack McCoy, yeah,
Hmm.
or they were going to say they were going to have somebody replace him. I was like, oh no, like nobody can be better than Jack, right? Then of course we get Tony Goldwyn. I notice him from the beginning. I'm like, right? And I'm like, okay, if anyone's gonna replace, Jack McCoy, Sam Waterston, it's gonna be it's gotta be it's gotta be Tony. And and they're doing a thing where like it's set up where you don't know if he's going to be in the next season, if he's going to be the DA or if he's going to lose and the election and whatnot. So I don't know. I guess it's going to depend on if they bring him if they want to bring him back, I guess. No, he directed a movie recently, and I didn't even know he was a director. He's done a lot of TV, but he directed a movie called Ezra, and it's comedian Max co-parents autistic son Ezra with ex-wife Jenna. Faced with crucial decisions about Ezra's future, Max and Ezra go on a life-changing cross-country trip. So that sounds good.
Yeah.
I'll definitely watch that. But he was promoting it on like Fallon or Kimmel or one of those shows recently. And um yeah, so I was really happy that Tony Goldwyn is out there doing stuff more, like him. He should be in the Cobra Kai show, you know. Everybody should be because I I'm sad that this is going to be the last season coming up in July. I'm gonna be like I'm gonna be bawling. I'm gonna be crying because it is a show that I adore. It's probably my favorite Netflix show right now. You know. So, I'm sure you love it just as much as I do, you know? Do you?
I I actually haven't seen all of the show. I think I only saw like the first season, so I need to catch up on it.
Oh my
Yeah,
God, I've been like spoiling shit. I'm
that's
sorry.
all right.
You should have told me that in the beginning.
Social
I,
media has already spoiled it, man. So
oh, that's true.
people
Anytime
don't
you look over, you can see
people don't
everybody go,
stop talking about stuff on social media like hello, thanks for the spoiler alert, but kind of used to it in today's society. So
I would have thought you're a big Karate Kid fan, man. I would have thought you would have watched all of it. I mean, they're very quick to
yeah,
watch.
it's more so finding the time to do it. That's the thing.
They're
You
really
know,
quick to
you
watch. Like I
yeah.
watched the newest season or what was it? One that was came out in like 2020.
Mhm.
In like literally the day of, that it came out. Like I just binge watched it and I got through it. And it was only like it was 10 episodes, but like each one's only like 20 to 30 minutes long or whatever it is. And so it just goes by like that, and stuff. So I guess it was only 5 hours, but like 5 hours goes by quickly when you're watching one and then you're like, you just keep doing it
Hmm.
and everything. So I just binge watched it and was like, oh, and now it sucks when you binge watch these things because then you're like, now I'm done. That's why I kind of took a break. I was binge watching Shameless, and that's a good show, but I was watching the first season. I'm like, I'm gonna take a little bit of a break from it. It's very vulgar and very whatever, but it's funny as hell. But it's just something I was like, I mean, I can't watch something that's like raunchy and vulgar like all, like I need breaks and then I'll come back and watch some more and
Yeah.
but there's like
Especially if it gets like really intense, like Game of Thrones or something like that, because there's a lot of that. There's a lot of violence,
yeah,
a lot of
for that stuff you
vulgarness,
do.
and
Yeah. I binge watched Game of Thrones too because one of my friends was telling me like watch Game of Thrones and I was like, you know, I don't know if I'm really into like sword and sorcery kind of show. Oh, you gotta watch it. So I watched the first episode. I was like, oh, was not what I was thinking. It was like, all right, I might be into this. Then I watched, all the way to the first season and then binge watched every episode up until whatever I was caught up on before the last couple seasons, and everything. And then that season sucked. That was like the worst, that was the worst season of Game of Thrones ever. And that was because I think they were told, "Oh, okay, this is the last season. Now write it, you know, like, and they're like, whoa, wait, what? We thought we had like two more seasons, and so now we have to like wrap everything up and like,
yeah, and almost you kind of want to, you're wondering like, is that really going to be the last season? Because George Martin is working on another book, so
he'll never do it. He's been working that book for like ever,
oh yeah.
he's never gonna do it. He just took the money and ran. If you go on, my brother pointed this out because my brother's a big Game of Thrones fan. If you go on his Twitter, anytime he posts anything, period, people will write, finish the book, or whatever. He's like, and he does not give a crap.
No,
He's not gonna, he's not gonna do it, I guess.
it takes notoriously long to write anything. So
I get it, but like, this is years, like maybe a decade he hasn't written this movie or
yeah, I mean
so,
it's
or book.
understandable like in that situation, like visionaries like Guillermo del Toro, where it took him a long time to be able to finally make Pan's Labyrinth. That was a labor of love for him. But the thing is, at the time, when he was fleshing the story out, there were many things like he didn't quite feel ready. He was waiting for the technology to catch up because there's, going to be a lot of uh, visual effects involved in it. So,
Hmm.
and it's a wonderful that he actually waited because he once he did it, it's an awesome movie. I know it's kind of
I
off
haven't seen it
topic,
yet.
but
I haven't seen it, but
I'm not going to spoil it.
oh,
It's
I was like,
fantastic.
well,
Um,
um,
it's completely in Spanish though, so you'll have to read subtitles, but
I
it's
know
a fantastic movie.
we did The Devil's Backbone for Criterion Watch, and Paul picked it and everything, and I loved it and thought it was great. And then he was gonna he's Paul's planning to do that Pan's Labyrinth at some point, but just hasn't pulled the trigger yet, or whatever. And so I've been just waiting for Paul to do it before I watch the movie, and I'm just like, maybe I should just watch it.
Is
It's
Paul
like
taking a cue from George Martin?
I know,
It's like,
like,
dude, you're taking forever. Come on, man.
oh, he does this with everything. I've been like, so I'll be like, I want to review this movie, and he'll be like, oh, that's on my list. And I'm like, well, your list is huge, And he's like, well, are you gonna do it? It's like, yeah, I'll do it. So I wait and I wait. Never does it. Anytime I think like whatever, oh no, we're doing something else. So I got upset, and somebody had mentioned the movie that I want to do, which is Axum. It's this really terrible movie, and I've been wanting to do that. And he goes, he's been saying, "Oh, it's on my list. I'm gonna do it." Blah 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 blah. So I wrote on somebody's comment on somebody's like, I would, we would do it on Indie Film Cafe, but Paul never wants to do it and won't let me do it, and so I guess we're never gonna
Well,
do it. And then
well,
he said I could do it now. So it's
I'll
happening.
give you this offer. I will review Pan's Labyrinth with you. Hey,
You'll come
absolutely.
out to the studio and review it with us?
If I'm able to. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
All right. I will talk to Paul about that.
That way, you're like, hey, let's get the ball rolling.
I know
We can
it
have
well,
another person in the studio with us.
it is Paul's turn coming up, and are you available on Sundays? I'm
Yeah.
scheduling this shit already. Uh,
Yeah, Sunday should be good.
Sunday, June 2nd, we are doing a Criterion watch. I'm not sure if maybe he'll do it if he knows you're coming out for it. You know,
Yeah.
are
The
you
earlier the better, because since the Sunday, since the day before work. So
okay? Noon is usually when we do that.
right, yeah.
Up at Fort Monroe. You've been to the studio before,
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Just double checking because
But
I know you
for few times, been there for one of your Halloween parties. Yeah.
you haven't done any of the videos with us, have you? You haven't done like Film Freaks with us, have you?
I don't think so. No, no.
And this would be your first Criterion watch, I think. So,
Mhm.
all right. Well, there you go. I will
Did
mention,
the Hollywood Boulevard podcast, and then we also did the horror television.
yeah, but those are
Yeah.
all on Zoom, not
Hmm.
through not on the studio. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, we are planning to have another Halloween party in October.
Hmm.
Don't know the day yet. It's going to be close to Halloween itself. That's all I know because everything else before then we are busy. I mean, October is because it's it's the Halloween season. There's just so much going on,
Hmm.
during there. So anyway, I think we talked enough about the Karate Kid Part 3 and we kind of went off a little bit on other stuff. But
That's usually
um
how it goes.
I
Off
mean,
on tangents. But
right,
hey,
yeah, that's what happens on all my podcasts, so this is not new. Um, so were you like rewatching it? Were you happy with it, or were you like kind of like me, where I was just now that I'm like thinking about it, I'm like I don't like it as much as I thought
yeah, after I rewatched part three, I did feel disappointed. Like I remember it being a lot better than this, but then again, you got to remember, this was the 80s, so um
late 80s. I think it was like
late 80s,
89.
yeah.
This is almost 90s, you
Yeah,
know.
and it was very much over the top, but that's definitely Karate Kid movies. It's very much over the top, especially with the um overuse of landscape shots. But it's beautiful. It looks cool. Um,
Hmm.
but I did kind of it did. I go back and remember, like, I remember this movie being a lot better than this. I mean, but
Mm.
um, I I also was kind of thinking, okay, what why the motivation for the villain doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Hmm.
Um, they're the teachers in the dojo. They're not even the student that lost. So
Right,
why
yeah.
do they care that Daniel won? I mean,
No, just because
person you should be pissed
Daniel
at is Miyagi.
or Johnny for losing,
Right.
and stuff. But even then, I think that was it. That Daniel beat his student, which
Right.
means that Kreese sucks as a teacher. You know,
Hmm.
that's where it comes from. It's that kind of toxic trait of like, if this happens, that means this happens. Right? And and I think that's it. I think that Daniel Daniel beat Johnny, so all of a sudden Johnny is a terrible student,
Hmm.
and which meant that Kreese did not teach him well enough. to be able to beat him. But like people kind of talked about how that was illegal kick, you know, and
Right.
everything because he did kick him in the face and he shouldn't have won, you know. And I think that is sort of true. I've always thought like because it happens so quickly, you don't really see like you see him kick, right? But you don't, and you see Johnny fall down. In Cobra Kai, the first episode, you see that kick, but you see it in slow mo, which I thought was hilarious because obviously somebody else's foot, you don't see whatever, right? And so you see like the kick go really quickly and hit Johnny in the face. I never thought it reached the face. I thought it just hit him, you know.
Yeah,
So
that is an illegal legal kick if it hits the face. So,
yeah,
um,
then that should have been something they brought to the remember because in Cobra Kai they go to the tournament stuff or whatever,
mhm.
and he should have been like, I should have won,
Yeah,
or
it's
I
like
mean, or
you
he
shouldn't have
shouldn't have
even
won.
you shouldn't even won. That was an illegal kick, you know.
Right.
So,
Yeah, and like, but I think they do talk about that. They mention that like that was an illegal
mhm.
kick, and that shouldn't have, I shouldn't have lost that way. And I think that that set up Cobra Kai really well because then for years he's harbored that sort of grudge against Daniel for kicking him, but once again it's ruined from the beginning of the movie because like or the end of the first movie because he's okay with losing to Daniel. He's telling him, "You're all right. You're all
It's
right,
like,
Daniel."
dude, make up your mind. Are you pissed
Yeah,
about it or you're not? You know.
yeah. Even in the scene with him coming out and Kreese breaking his trophy and all that stuff and saying, "How's second place feel now, loser?" Right? And stuff like that. That was that was ridiculous because he was happy to lose and to get second place. He was okay with it. Like he had come to terms with that. So now
Yeah.
him doing that and saying, "Oh, my life is terrible, my life is whatever," it's
Mhm.
a little bit once again over the top, which is what sort of part three was, it's like
Yeah,
why
I think it would have made it really interesting in part three if they actually brought Johnny back, and this time he's not quite on Daniel's side, but kind of like more understanding where he's coming from and dealing with Kreese. So that I think that dynamic would have been nice to see, you know,
more
especially
like
since
I did
yeah,
like your idea that they should have brought Johnny back to fight him again, kind of
right.
rematch kind of thing. But
Like, hey, I
maybe
want a rematch. That was an illegal kick, you know.
but they didn't think that way back
Mhm.
then. It wasn't until the guys who wrote Cobra Kai probably rewatched the movie so much and they go, wait a minute, is that technically an illegal kick? We
Mhm.
can make that into the plot story,
Right. Yeah.
and everything.
It would have made more sense of Johnny wanting, you know, maybe not necessarily revenge, but he wants a rematch, you know.
Right.
Um, so then of course, you know, you would think about Johnny in a different sense, you know, like, oh, okay, he's not such a bad guy, you know, and
I mean,
you
that's
can,
what once again, that's what they did with Cobra Kai because they
yeah,
wanted to make him sort of sympathetic
hmm,
because he's the lead. It's really Johnny's story.
right.
It's Johnny and Daniel.
Well, that's why
Yeah.
they made Daniel look like a dick. And
Right.
honestly, if you go back and rewatch Karate Kid, Daniel's not all like, even though he's the hero, he's
He's
not
a
a
dick.
he's the dick. Exactly. You
I
know,
mean,
he's
there's points where but you know, I always chalk that up to that was him. Uh, like okay, there's that scene with the in part one
mhm,
with the students, whatever, and they can't fight him until the tournament,
right.
and everything, and he knows that, so he starts sort of like harassing them in a way or
Yeah.
whatever, being a dick about it and everything. Um, yeah, uh, that's
Because
him.
he
That's
does
him. Like,
pick fights a little bit, especially in the first one, you know, like yeah, Johnny came pretty strong on him, but I'm like, Daniel, you started it, dude. So,
Yeah, I mean, but in the same sense, he didn't start the whole thing to begin with.
right.
Like he was just helping Allie with her, helping be chivalrous, which I guess really was none of his business. I think I've talked about this on the first one too. Really
Hmm.
none of his business. Like, whatever happens with her and her ex-boyfriend, unless she was being physically assaulted, which she wasn't, he just threw her radio down and everything, and then, he went to go pick it up or whatever, and Johnny was like, "Don't pick that up," right? Technically, that wasn't his to pick up. What was he, why was he doing that?
Hmm.
Uh, to show he's a good guy to help her out? No, you're,
It's like, why, like, dude, you don't even know her. Why are
yeah,
you, why are you
yeah,
getting involved?
yeah. Why are you getting involved? Everybody else didn't get involved, like everybody else just watched, you know. And then Johnny and the whole idea, if you notice, did you ever like notice they called him the Karate Kid in the first movie? He's never that line, that Karate Kid line is never mentioned ever again in any other movie or whatever. But the line is like, hey, look, it's the Karate Kid because he, fought him. And the guy who said that was the guy who told him he knew karate,
Hmm.
and stuff like that. And they were just joking on him. They were making fun of him. They're bullying him in a way, calling him the Karate Kid when he got his ass kicked by Johnny,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
everything. And then once again, the guys kind of mess with him when he's playing soccer, and then he goes and starts beating the crap out of one of the guys. I'm like, dude, just take it like a man. You got your butt whooped, like you're playing soccer. He tripped you. That's what happens in soccer. Don't, you
Yeah.
know?
He is very hot-headed, you know.
Yeah.
And he continues to be that. Like in part three, a bit hot-headed and
I
uh
get, well, I mean, in that way, he was protecting himself when he was
yeah.
hot-headed in
But
three.
then also he's more, I think he has more self-realization too. He's even calling him like, I am such an idiot. Why am I doing this?
He
So
has a lot of like outer monologues, which
mhm.
I sort of was annoyed by
Yeah.
at times because like there's one point where he's talking, I'm like, you're just fucking talking to the television. You're just letting us know your thoughts and whatnot. But people don't do sometimes people do that,
People
I
don't
guess.
do that. This is a movie you show, not
Yeah,
tell. So,
exactly. So, but he also like he would whine, so he'd be like, I'm an idiot. I should have just signed the thing. I should have just signed it. I was there. I could have signed it. I should have, and I'm like, dude, shut up. Calm down, man. It's not, look, if them letting you up is what happens next because they're not going to leave you down there, right? Because the whole point is they want you to sign this so they can fight you in the tournament.
well, yeah, because like
Okay.
he can't fight him in the tournament if he's dead,
Right.
you know.
So them pulling him, they need him to come up. So calm your freaking ass down, sign the thing, Otherwise, I don't know, go swimming, I guess. I don't know. Get out of there somehow. You're stuck. Sign the freaking thing. Just go, okay. He could have saved that freaking, well, his tree ended up getting saved anyway. It's Mr. Miyagi rocks. Mr. Miyagi was the best character in this movie, and he's not even in it as much as Daniel is and everything. It's
Hmm.
kind of sad that they kind of did that to him. He's kind of like he's pushed to the side most of the time, or whatever.
Hmm.
So I don't know. Um, anyway, we've talked enough about this. If you guys are huge fans of Karate Kid 3 and you disagree with us on this whole thing, that's fine. Please leave us a comment, let us know. Um, like I said, I've interviewed Sean Kanan, who played Mike, and he is super duper cool. He sent me his book, signed. He's talked to me about this. I've asked him Karate Kid questions and everything else that he's done in his career. So I love that guy. Like, and I loved him in this movie. Like rewatching this, he was a great villain, you know. Um, he's even better later when you see him in because you already know he's in Cobra Kai. They're gonna bring everybody back. That's the plan. I hope you watch it now because like now I
Yeah.
feel like you already know everything
Well,
in it.
that's how you drive the story along. You know, you need to bring all these characters back eventually. So,
Right, and that's the thing because it becomes the Karate Kid universe, or
mhm.
whatever,
Yeah.
and they're doing a feature film. I have a prediction about the feature film, so I can't wait for next year to find out if this is true or not. But I think they're setting it up because they have Jackie Chan
Hmm.
and it's already been, I mean, that's already been
And
said,
and
but
and Ralph Macchio, yeah.
and Ralph Macchio are back, so are together, not back. They've never been together. They're going to be together. I think it's going to set up at the end of Cobra Kai
Hmm.
that this is going to be, and then they're going to go into that movie, and then they'll have like three or four movies or whatever
Yeah,
that
because
they'll do.
I thought that that was interesting, like, oh, okay, so the remake is actually not a remake of, like, it's not quite a remake. It's still in the same universe as the original Karate Kid, which is interesting because it never really implied that it was.
Well, I don't
Um,
think it's a remake. They are calling it The Karate Kid. It's kind of like how Halloween 2018 is
mhm.
called Halloween 2000. Yeah, it was called Halloween, but it's really a sequel to the second movie,
Right.
or whatever. So I think that's what they're gonna go. I don't think they're gonna do that. I don't think they're gonna say like the second movie never existed, or something like that. They're not going to do that. But I think that they are going to make it still be called Karate Kid, which I think is stupid. It should have some kind of subtitle. The Karate Kid Returns, the Karate Kid, you
Karate
know,
Kid Legacy or something like that.
yeah, something. I'm cool with Legacy. Bloodlines, they use that one a lot, whatever. And it's introducing a new Karate Kid character. Now, the remake, the original, the one that Jackie Chan and Jaden Smith is not a great actor, but John Ward and I are reviewing that as part of this whole
Mm.
Karate Kid thing. So, uh,
We all know he got to where he's at because of his dad. So
right.
yeah.
So, yeah, and as far as I know, he's not in the new one, the new Karate Kid. But
Mhm.
Will Smith is a producer of the Cobra Kai show. So, and his family are produce that show. So they are involved, but they don't he's never like Jaden hasn't popped in. So I don't know if he's going to or not. I don't think so. There doesn't seem to be anywhere like it would be really random. Now, if they pull off Hillary Swank, that would be awesome because
Mhm.
she's in the next one. That'll be
Right. Yeah.
the next Karate Kid. That would be awesome. But she has said on numerous times they haven't asked me to come back yet. That doesn't mean she's not back. We've heard that from was it Andrew Garfield has said, "Oh, I'm not the werewolf in Spider-Man." Like people say, "Oh, are you the werewolf?" I'm not the werewolf, or whatever. I've never been the werewolf. You're the fucking werewolf, dude. You're we knew everybody knew he and the others, you have seen Spider-Man No Way Home, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So like where all three of the Spider-Men show up. Everybody knew that was rumors before, way before then. So which might have been spoilers, but I don't care. I was excited. I wanted to see that happen.
That was
And
so satisfying to see all
I
three
know,
Spider-Man in the same movie.
especially when the first one came up. I think the first one was Andrew, and he shows
Yeah.
up, and you're just like, it's gonna
It's like,
happen.
what?
It's gonna happen. Everybody in the audience
Like
just
show
cheered.
Peter and it is Peter Parker, but from a different universe.
Yeah, everybody cheered, absolutely cheered, and
And then Tobey Maguire comes in and
Toby
everybody cheered.
Maguire's, yeah, and everybody cheers, and you're like, this is happening. And where they're all kind of like they have the like, they were like they're all, it's almost like that scene where they're just like all pointing at each other, or whatever, because
Well, you
it's
knew it was coming.
it was coming, it was happening.
They had the other villains from those universes coming, so you knew it was going to happen.
Yeah, it
So
was gonna have to happen. If it didn't, people would have been pissed.
I was like,
It's the same
what?
thing as like people are thinking that Taylor Swift is there's a lot of rumors and things pointing that Taylor Swift is gonna be in the new Deadpool movie, and everybody's like, if she's not, people are going to be disappointed. So
I
hopefully,
hope not. She's overrated. So,
I don't know. I like her as a, like I like her. I like what she stands for. I think she stands for independence and whatnot. And I think a lot of people, I feel like a lot of people need that right now. So I'm okay with her. I don't have any problem with Taylor Swift. Um, but so if she shows up, I'll be all right. She's supposedly also getting her own show. That's another thing that's being said. She's getting her own Disney Plus show, for Marvel. So we'll see, whatever. We'll see if she's in it or not. But if she is, she is. If she's not, I think a lot of people are gonna be like upset because they were thinking she's gonna be in this, which Marvel does that a lot, where people just make rumors and whatnot. And I hate all these insiders,
yeah.
who say they know everything,
Well,
you know.
also, you were thinking before, especially with Deadpool, you're kind of half expecting at some point Hugh Jackman to show up, and he never does.
Right. So yeah, but he did, was he, he's gonna be in Deadpool and Wolverine. In fact, he actually said that he was really disappointed that he had killed himself off in Logan. Because, spoiler alert, sorry, for people who haven't seen Logan. But once again, that's been out for like a while, so if you haven't seen it, that's your fault. Um, but like he was so upset because that was his goodbye to Wolverine. And then he watched Deadpool, and Deadpool talks about Wolverine and Logan a lot. And he's like, oh, it's so awesome to work with them. So they're making it work. And I'm excited. Can't wait to see Deadpool and Wolverine. That's one of the movies it's July is going to be one of the best months, honestly, in my opinion, because we got Cobra Kai, the next season coming out, and we've got what is it? And we've got the Deadpool and Wolverine. So you should watch everything up to, Cobra Kai season 6,
Mhm.
coming up, because you're about to get spoilers alerts a lot more again. So unless you don't want to see it, unless you have no interest, but sounds like you might, you know. Um Anyway, that's it. So join I want to say join me next month, but it has literally been like every other month that I've done this, like starting in January and then March and now May, So so it's either going to be June or July that the next one comes out. I may just do July because, keep it going in that way, but we'll see. Um, I'm really excited to dive into all of these, and we're going to be talking about Cobra Kai. But sadly, I can't talk about all of Cobra Kai all the way up to the end because that's not going to be till next year. You know, Probably, and my guess, because they haven't announced when in 2025 that the final, parts are coming. I think it's going to come in like right, like literally the month of the Karate Kid, new Karate Kid movie, because, it should be called Another Karate Kid. Just call it that, you know, Another Karate. They had the next
Well,
Karate
yeah,
Kid,
because the next Karate Kid,
but now
just
another
doing
Karate
another
Kid.
Karate Kid.
Yeah, because it is another Karate Kid. It is a new Karate Kid that they're going to be introducing. So I think they're going to introduce those characters, or the setup to introduce those characters in at the last, episode, once again, so that they can go into the movies, because I guess Sony wants to bring that brand back as a film brand and everything. And maybe I know there's been talks about possible spin-offs from the show, the boys getting their own shows or something, the kids getting their own shows. That would be wonderful, but I mean, if not, it was wonderful seeing 6 seasons of a show where I didn't think it would last one season, because it was originally on like YouTube, like it eventually went to Netflix, and this has been the most like usually Netflix only gives you like 3 seasons
Yeah.
of a show and then you're done. So this has lasted 6 seasons, and that kind of that's even longer than the Karate Kid movies because they only made four
Yeah.
or five if you count the remake. But no one really counts the remake. It's like we're gonna next year I'm doing Ghostbusters, for this for the mainstream, and unfortunately I will be watching the Lady Ghostbusters, my least favorite. Which I love Paul Feig, and I think Bridesmaids and some other stuff that Paul's done, Freaks and Geeks and stuff. I love him, but that was you
No.
can't tell me that's a good movie.
Mm.
No. Um, I know
It's
you're
Bridesmaids with proton packs.
it's not even, and you can't even compare it to Bridesmaids. Bridesmaids is so funny and so well written, and I felt like this
Yeah.
was not. It was just it was
It's
it,
it's more of a parody of Ghostbusters than an actual Ghostbusters movie. So,
yeah, it's like Saturday Night Live did a
mhm.
Ghostbusters movie, which they kind of did because they're at a bunch of
They should have just called
you
it
know
Ghost Smashers or something, because that was actually one of the original names that they were thinking of for the movie. So,
Well, yeah, because they couldn't call it Ghostbusters, because there already was a Ghostbusters
mhm.
by Filmation and stuff. So they had to work out a deal with Filmation, I guess, or whatever, to be able to call it Ghostbusters. So they didn't even know if they were going to be able to use that song, or whatever the Ghostbusters thing, because that came like last minute. You have to make this song, theme song for it
Yeah.
and everything. And it's so interesting to hear these little things like, how it all formed, But yeah, I've done Ghostbusters 1 and 2. Were you on our Hollywood Boulevard for Ghostbusters 2, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so I still will go through all of them again for the mainstream, but then the ones that I haven't talked about, like the Lady Ghostbusters, and we've never reviewed. I don't think we reviewed Ghostbuster Afterlife. We might have. I know we haven't done Frozen Empire.
Well,
So
Frozen Empire is coming out. Well, it's already out digital, but it's coming out on 4K soon. So,
yeah.
you
So
got to review it.
next year we'll have it.
Yeah.
So which I don't know. Maybe it'll be the same as this, where it'll be every other month. It seems the only problem I have with doing it every other month is I do these like TikToks, and I take clips from these things and everything, and then when for the whole month or whatever, every week it will be like four clips or whatever, and then the next month if I don't have the mainstream, right, I have to like put out this, more from the same thing or change it up, but I don't want to change it up. Too lazy. Um, so anyway, that has nothing to do with anything with Karate Kid. I just want to thank you, Danny. This is awesome. I appreciate this. This is a little
Oh,
longer
sure.
than I was planning. I think this is the longest we've done so far for
So
the
far, yeah.
mainstream.
Which
For
is
the
interesting
mainstream.
because there's usually a lot more. There's usually more of us on these things, so it was interesting to
I
go
think
more
if
in
we had
depth.
more, it definitely would have gone, longer or whatever. I had John Ward on. Have you met John? Have you been on a show with John yet? Maybe you haven't. I don't think you have. So
Not on the show, no.
no, so John Ward and then Joe, Joe Turk, did part two. So you've done part three. I'm gonna get a girl for part four. Don't know who yet, but I'll have to ask a girl that um
But
maybe want to do it.
for part four, you're going to want a female perspective, absolutely. So, because
Absolutely, yeah.
yeah,
Well, it's yeah, it's and part
that's a
five.
female empowerment film. You're going to need to have a woman on the show. So,
For the remake, I'm bringing John Ward because he hates that movie and he wants to talk a lot about it, why he hates
oh,
it,
okay.
which means he has to rewatch it again. I've never seen it, so I can't say if I hate it or not. If I actually like it, I'm gonna be really disappointed, in myself, but because I've been talking trash about that movie for so long and I know I haven't seen it, so it's like you shouldn't really talk shit about something you've never actually watched.
Yeah.
No,
It,
but
it it does a little bit almost feel like a remake of The Karate Kid, but a continuation of the storyline because it still involves Mr. Miyagi. But it was a little jarring, I have
Well,
to
it's not
say.
Mr. Miyagi. It's somebody else, right? Like it's a. Are you talking about the next
Oh,
one
I
or the
thought you were talking
remake?
about the next car. Oh,
No,
oh,
I'm
the
talking about the
remake.
remake.
Yeah, the remake. I was like, hmm.
No,
And also,
it wasn't even karate
it's not. Oh, exactly. That's what I'm like. Why the heck did they call it the Karate Kid in the
because
first
no,
place?
because of the name value, you know,
Because
because
it's taken place in China. Chinese, it's not karate, it's kung fu.
right.
That's what he's learning, not karate. Why is it called the Karate Kid? You know,
So what happened is Will Smith bought bought the rights to Karate Kid for his son's birthday. His son said he asked his son, what do you want for your birthday?" And he said, "I want, I want to do the Karate Kid." So he said, "All right." And as a good dad, as any good dad would do, he went out and bought the fucking rights to Karate Kid, and and then they had to cast a new Miyagi. Well, there's no Japanese, there's no Mr. Miyagi like character kind of person anymore.
like, well, we're
Like,
gonna have to do kung fu. There's
yeah,
Jackie
well,
Chan.
yeah, if
So
it's Jackie Chan, we gotta do Chinese. We gotta do Kung Fu. We can't call it the Kung Fu Kid because nobody will go see a movie called the Kung Fu Kid because they don't know that movie, you know?
yeah.
Um, so they end up calling it Karate Kid, but it has nothing to do with karate. So it makes no sense. But it makes no sense. I mean, none of these movies make sense.
Well,
Um,
I would have liked it better, like, because where it kind of where it talked about with Mr. Miyagi in this in the second film that they had learned karate and they brought from China and they brought it to Japan.
mhm,
I think it would have made more sense if they had Jackie Chan's character, be from the part of China where the Miyagi's learned karate in the first place. So,
maybe.
you know, I don't know.
I don't know,
I
but
I,
they
I
did
don't
not
know if
do
they
that.
did
It's
that because I never saw it. I never had interest in it. I thought
That's the
that,
thing. I was the same way, and so I'm
yeah,
gonna watch it, and I hope I don't like it, like. But if I do, I'm gonna be very honest, and if I actually like it or something, I will talk about that. But
yeah.
I have a feeling I won't. I just don't like Jaden. I think he's not, at least back then. I don't know if he's gotten better, but he was not a
Not
good,
really. No.
he was
Even
not a
when
dad.
was that apocalyptic movie that he did again with his dad. It seems like he can't really get any
Apocalypse Earth or something, or
something like that. It was like it was an apocalyptic futuristic movie, but it
After
seemed
Earth, After Earth.
after Earth, it seems like
Yeah.
he can't really get any work unless his dad is in it or he's a producer. So,
I forgot who I told this to. I think it was John Ward, but I told somebody this and they were shocked because they never realized this. Um, Maybe it was somebody else. Maybe it was a girl. But anyway, Willow Smith is named
mhm,
after Will, and that's the daughter.
right,
Jaden is named after Jada
right.
Pinkett Smith, the mother. Not a lot of people don't realize that. Like they are that into themselves that they named their
They
kids
named their
after
kids after
after each
themselves.
other. Yeah,
How
after
much
each
more
other.
self-absorbed can you
Yeah,
be?
they didn't go, well, this is Will Jr. and this is um Jada Jr., or whatever.
No, we're
Yeah.
gonna name like the opposite gender after me,
Right.
like
And stuff. So
can
I
you
don't
get
know.
more conceited?
That's a little bit. That's a little bit. And I always love Will. Like I love Will as a
Oh
person.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
did not
yeah.
like what he did on the fucking Academy
No,
Awards
I
or
mean
whatever, but
he's a great person. He's a good actor. I think he's a great comedian. Um, I don't agree with what he did on the Academy Awards, but
I think
he's since realized the error of his ways, but still,
there was a great line. I'm watching this comedian and this guy comes up and it turns out the guy was the guy from Criminal Minds, the black guy from Criminal Minds, in it. And he goes up and he says, the guy comes up to his thing and he goes, "Look, I'm not Chris Rock. I'll punch you in the face." And I was laughing my butt off because, like, yeah, Chris Rock didn't do anything. He just took that freaking slap, because I
Well,
don't think it was
yeah,
expecting,
I th
Will to do that.
there's been some speculation that that was all staged by the Oscars because the Oscars were receiving low ratings and just to get people talking about it, they
On
had that
social
happen.
media, yeah, it happened.
Yeah.
It worked because on social media, everybody goes, "Oh my God,
Like everybody's talking
everybody,"
about the
right?
Oscars
And then all of
and
a sudden, I'm like,
yeah.
I'm with my
Well,
friend,
because
because it's Sunday night, and one of
they
my friends always comes over and watches movies with me on Sunday night. We had no interest in the Oscars, so we
yeah.
were watching a movie. I look on my phone and I see that. I'm like, "Oh my God, we gotta see this." Like,
Well, yeah, because
I,
it's the same thing every year. They're self-congratulating themselves, patting themselves on the back, self-absorbed,
mm-hmm,
and then using that platform to talk about something that has absolutely nothing to do with the film industry. They're going
right,
up there and making a speech, and instead of just think like, okay, thank the people for the award and just get on with it. And
uh,
people, the audience in general have gotten tired of it, about watching that, and their viewership was down
yep,
by a lot. So they had to do something, and
mm-hmm.
there's speculation that that's exactly what it was. Is they that's staged. And matter of fact, if you actually go back and look at it, it looks staged.
It does. There's some people
So
pointed out certain things, and
that he
a lot
actually
of it,
didn't hit Chris Rock. It makes it look like he hit Chris Rock. So
yeah. I mean, it very well could have been, all stage.
yeah.
I don't know. I wasn't physically there between those two, or whatever, so I don't
Hmm.
know, and nor do I really care because I think if it was staged, it was a bad decision
Oh yeah.
because then it makes Will look really terrible as a person.
Right. Yeah.
And then also he's banned from the Oscars for a while because of that. They had to do that because it looked bad. So if that was staged and the Oscars planned it, then that's messed up.
Yeah.
But
And
for
well, maybe
well,
it kind of it backfired on them. They thought it was going to go out differently. So
how do you think that would
yeah.
like nobody likes anybody being like physically
Oh no.
assaulted on television, live on television. Like that's just not, yeah.
But it did generate buzz about the Oscars. So, they were having
And
low viewership. They needed
yeah, but
something.
then you're gonna have low viewership next year too. Like
Oh yeah.
what are they gonna do now? Set fire to the stage or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
People are tired of actors, having an agenda when they're doing the speech, just thank the people for your reward and get off the stage. You
Well,
know,
yeah, and people are doing their agenda in talk shows now and stuff, and doing their agenda everywhere. And I'm just like,
like
just
you're an actor, not a politician.
and even
Stick
if
with
you
what you
want to
know.
be a politician, stick to that when you're doing stuff of talking about politics. If you're talking about a movie that you're promoting, talk about like I've
Talk about
seen these
that. Yeah.
interviews where the people will try to get the actors to talk about like, stuff that they've been through that's like harsh that they don't really want to talk about. Like Tarantino had told the guy, I'm gonna shut your butt down because I don't want to talk about, the stuff I've been talking about, whatever, right? Well, you don't when you know people this exact same thing when people want to talk about their politics on when you're talking about a movie, we don't want to hear about your past life. We want to hear about the movie you're promoting right now.
Right.
That's when I interview somebody, I might bring up their past a little bit, but really I'm
Yeah.
really trying to get into what they're doing right now if they're doing something.
Well, like if their past has something to do with the role, or like, the role kind of really is, they used a lot of what they dealt with in life in
And
that.
that's up to
So,
them to talk about and
right.
bring up,
Yeah.
you know.
Or yeah, like it could be the hosts talking to them and say, "Hey, what was your inspiration for this character?"
Right.
So,
And they can be like, oh yeah, when I was younger, blah 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 happened.
right.
That kind of thing.
They drew from
But
that.
they grew from that. But when they just randomly talk about politics,
Yeah.
it just bothers me. It's just like I'm listening to your interview because I want to hear because that's where it all goes to now, is everybody wants to have a soapbox and people want to
Right.
stand up on
Yeah.
it.
They want to
And
use that as an outlet to show their political opinion when the general public doesn't care about the political opinion. They just want to hear about the movie that they're promoting.
except
So,
if their political opinion is different than other people's political opinions
right.
that are whatever. Like if somebody goes on Twitter and says their political opinion, right?
Hmm.
And it doesn't match with, another production company's political opinion, that person gets fired for
Oh, yeah.
talking about their political opinion, which I think is wrong. That absolutely is wrong because that is free speech. If we are told we can't say certain things, now I can understand if you're like, spoiling, like Mark Ruffalo's gotten into a lot of trouble with Marvel because he will accidentally say certain things that spoil things because he's an idiot sometimes. He's just not thinking about whatever, and he'll be like, and that's why a lot of times they say, Mark,
Well,
you're
he's
not
the
allowed
new
to go
Tom
there.
Holland, Tom Holland,
Tom
but
Holland does that stuff, yeah,
well,
by
he's a hardcore Marvel fan himself, and he just like can't help like he's so excited
It's like
about it.
the
He
chick
just
from Ms.
yeah.
Marvel, who, by the way, I don't know if you know this, but the two guys who directed Ms. Marvel might be directing the new Spider-Man movie. And if that's the case, I think they're going to be bringing in Ms. Marvel, which would
Yeah.
set up maybe for the Young Avengers, but also set up for Miss Marvel and Spider-Man to have a scene together, which I think will be hilarious
Oh yeah.
because they're both well, Tom Holland himself is a big Marvel fan, but Ms. Marvel herself is a big the Captain Marvel
Well,
and
and also like yeah, the characters themselves are big nerds.
yeah.
They're
I I think she's actually my favorite. I did not like
yeah.
the Marvels that much, but I loved her in it. Like
Mhm.
she stole the show.
Yeah,
And
I didn't care for the Marvels. I almost kind of like why do we have and also, some of the scene like with having a musical scene, I'm like,
yeah, that was a little weird
why?
because it was a cool idea that there's a whole planet that just speaks in song, and everything. That's kind of a cool idea, but like I feel like that stuff went on too long, and it's the same stuff as Thor going into that the god, the god planet and everything and stuff, and I'm like, wait, so there's this guy who's going around killing gods, and you want to and go to the one place that there's going to be many gods that he's going, like it just
Mhm.
seems really silly.
Like, don't you think the villain's gonna be he's gonna show up?
Yeah, well, they know that, and that's what happened with. Once again, it's the same thing. It's like they're running out of ideas, so they're
Oh
just
yeah.
recycling everything. And I think that's the biggest problem is they just keep recycling the same shit.
Well, and they're
Um,
also not doing what the audience want. I'm like, give us Spider-Man and Deadpool in the same movie. Okay, come on. You
yeah, they
have
haven't
it.
done that yet.
They
No,
yeah, they have it in the comics, and
yeah, those would be
like
fun. That would be a fun.
that because their dynamic between the two of them is it's hilarious. So like they need to do that. Bring Tom Holland. Actually, I wonder, it might be Andrew Garfield that it ends up being with Deadpool because I think um he seems to be more of the style of Spider-Man that would really work with Deadpool. So
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what
yeah,
happens. I don't know. I'm sure in the secret, whatever the Avengers, God, my brain is blinking. The secret, is it secret? The
Secret Avengers
no,
or
it's like Secret
the
Wars. Secret
Secret Wars.
Wars.
Yeah,
When they do that, Avengers, I think it's gonna be I think Spider-Man and Deadpool will have a scene together. So, that'll be cool. I don't know. I'm just at this rate at this time. It's like it's so funny to me. Like we finally got like some time away from a lot of Marvel stuff, there hasn't really been any movies. It's been sort of, like giving some time for people to relax. And they're like, "Oh, we're gonna stop doing the Marvel movies like for a
No,
while."
we're gonna do
You know.
shows.
We're no, I mean, we're not even gonna do that. We're gonna stop like we're gonna kind of have it spread out. We're only gonna do like three movies. Oh wait, nope. We're doing five in 2025. Oh,
And
we're
then they
totally
do
slowing down.
movies for characters like Madam Web that I'm like, again, why was this movie made?
Um,
Like the Marvels, why was this made?
Girl power.
Uh,
That's it. I mean, literally, they want both sides. They want to show women kicking ass, and the problem being that it's too derivative of everything we've already seen. So it gets boring. Nobody wants to see it. Nobody cares. Nobody the villain is the same villain from Thor, except female. It's the same shit. It's just like dudes. We're, even Wanda being a villain really pissed me off. I'm
mhm.
like, she might have been a villain in some of the comics, but like it made absolutely no sense that she had a 180 like this, after WandaVision, she was a hero. Now you're gonna make her a villain? Like,
Yeah, I honestly think it would have made more sense to have um Agatha as the villain in Multiverse of Madness, and then that makes more sense on why Doctor Strange goes to Wanda in the first place.
I mean, and
Like,
this
who
whole
better to have to team up with you than to team up with Wanda because she's dealt with Agatha in the past. So
and I'm getting really annoyed because they're talking about bringing Wanda's kids into Young Avengers. I'm like, how is this gonna work?
they don't
She
exist.
They don't exist. They'd have to go into another multiverse, kidnap them, which is the whole point of why at the end of the movie, Multiverse of Madness, you've seen that, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
unless well, because Vision's back. So I mean, unless she has kids with the new Vision, that could be possible.
That's another thing people are really annoyed with was the multiverse stuff because it's just like then no deaths really matter because we can just pluck somebody out from the multiverse and have them be, you know, like
Yeah, because
after a while
there's been speculation of Tom Cruise showing up at some point
there's
as Tony
Iron Man.
Stark as
Yeah.
Iron Man because he was one of the actors considered for the role of Iron Man. So
Or they were talking about bringing Robert Downey Jr. back,
but
as
as a variant of
a
Tony Stark.
variant. But like, yeah, but like, if you do that, then once again we're just seeing Tony Stark again. Like they're
It would make
really
more sense for him to be the new AI for because they kind of injected like because I think because you end up seeing an AI version of him, spoiler alert, at the end
right.
of Endgame. So I think it would to kind of pay homage to Tony Stark, have him be the new AI for Stark Industries. So like his consciousness is injected into that. So
Well,
yeah.
we went off on a
We
tangent
went
here.
off on a
Way, like
wave
way.
tangent that has nothing to
Yeah,
do
no,
with
the Cobra Kai. I mean, Cobra Kai probably wouldn't exist had the Marvel universe never been so like connected and had the
right. Yeah.
universe, So in a way it is, but it's not, obviously we're talking about Marvel and unless like William Zabka or Ralph Macchio becomes like a Marvel character, or whatever, like they decide to they act in a Marvel movie, which I'd be okay with seeing William Zabka play a character, but I think it has to finish off like all the stuff with Cobra Kai, then I think he'll move on to other franchises maybe, you know. That would be cool. Um I met William Zabka. He was at Scares That Care. So I got to meet him and him and Martin Cove. Which, by the way, if you ever meet Martin Cove, he is the nicest. Both of them are really, really nice. In fact, I couldn't interview William Zabka because he said he doesn't do interviews like on YouTube anymore,
Mhm.
for YouTube anymore because too many times people will turn it like make him a villain, in the interviews and stuff and everything, and then put it out there and it makes him look bad, you
Right.
know. And I was like, really? Like I mean, I definitely would love to like I mean, I would tell him I loved him in everything, not just Karate Kid, but he was in Back to School and
Right.
a bunch of other movies. I think he was in like a National Lampoon's movie, if I'm correct.
I think also he was in just one of the guys.
He's
I
also in the
th
movie Python.
yeah,
No, or Python 2. I'm sorry.
yeah, for a
Python
while.
1 had or wait, King Cobra. One of them
Mhm.
had Pat Morita. So, but we were saying,
Yeah, it was there was one movie that I mean, I think he was typecasted again, but in that movie, in just one of the guys, and I think he's the bully in that one.
yeah, just got
So
typecast as the bully, which kind of sucks because
yeah.
Gus definitely has a lot of range and he's a better actor
Oh
than
yeah. Oh yeah. Because in Cobra Kai, it shows he has way more
I think
range
that's
than
another reason why chose he agreed to do it is because
because it portrayed him. There's more depth. There's more to Johnny than we really think. So um, I think like to try to get him on as a guest, maybe kind of tell him what you're going to ask him.
yeah,
Don't say I'm not going to try to broadside you or anything. We're not going to paint you out to
yeah,
be
I
the
think I
bad
tried to
guys.
do that, but he's wasn't,
Yeah.
he if he seemed like one of those people that he would decline anybody just in case, and stuff
Yeah.
and everything just to keep and if he declines one person, he's gonna decline everybody. So,
Yeah, because especially if you're just doing like a podcast episode, you're not doing it live, he could always say, we're not going to talk about that. You know,
yeah,
this is not what we agreed to. And then they can always edit that part out. So,
exactly. So, but I think nowadays he might do more of it, but probably set up ahead of time or something,
oh,
not like
yeah.
at
Yeah.
his table. So I guarantee his table's huge now, and stuff. So love the dude. He was very nice, took a picture with me. So did Martin Cove. Martin Cove gave me a free picture too, because me and his son were knew each other. We were supposed to work on a project together and it just didn't work out. But I mentioned him and said I know your son Jesse, who later, because this was before Cobra Kai, later, yeah, his son's actually in Cobra Kai, pops in there. I won't say what because you haven't seen it yet, but he's in the movie, so in the show. All right. Anyway, let's wrap this up. What do you say?
Sounds good.
All right. So thank you guys for checking this out. Join us. Well, join me. And I think I'm just gonna say it right now, two more months in July, which will be when Cobra Kai comes out anyway, the new Cobra Kai. So, um, I might try to do it after I've already watched the new Cobra Kai, and so I can talk about that to whoever I get. But I will have most likely a female guest, to talk about their perspective on the next Karate Kid, um, and everything. Try to hear somebody who wants to talk about that maybe somebody who's done karate or knows something about it, but we'll see. Until then, everybody, thank you, Danny.
Thank you for
And
having me.
yeah, join us. This will be a fun year. This will go on the whole year, I guess, all the way to December if I keep doing it like this. So, and only 6 episodes, I guess. So, hey, that's enough, right? You know. So there you go. Hope you guys enjoy this and join me in 2 weeks or two months. Until then, everybody. Bye.